Hello, and welcome back to the Nourish with Purpose podcast. It's Bailey, and I hope you're having a great Wednesday or whenever you're listening to today's episode. Before we get into the episode, I just want to remind you that I want to buy one of your groceries. And so all you need to do is leave a review on Apple Podcasts, send it over to me, and I'll get you entered into that giveaway. Again, $100 gift card anywhere you want to go. All you need to do is write a review. And I'm really excited about that giveaway because so much of what I do is focused around food. And I just think it's the best way for you to have a little wiggle room maybe in the month to buy some new products that you haven't purchased before, right? When you have a gift card, sometimes it's like, well, heck, why wouldn't I try something new? So I want to gift that to one of you. Again, send it my way once you've left that review and I'll get you entered. Outside of that, I was thinking I would do just a short catch up. Today, we are really getting intentional, doing more of a visualization practice, which is very new, something I don't personally do often, but kind of in the catch up of that, I've noticed I need a mindset shift and I need to do something to help myself see big picture rather than just minuscule things that are happening day to day that are just frustrating me and causing me to get really down on myself. That's something I've struggled with since starting my business, is how critical and hard I am on myself. There's literally nobody around me putting pressure on me but myself. And that's something that I've just really struggled with. And I definitely think it goes, I've got the peaks and the valleys. There's going to be months where I'm doing great. I'm super positive. Everything is just flowing. And then there's months where I notice so much resistance and everything feels so much harder to do. And I hate that. I hate that feeling. I hate being in that mindset. I hate being just very maybe emotionally driven rather than logistically driven. And so today we're not just focusing obviously on having a business and doing a visualization with that, but wherever you find yourself in life right now, I really think that this is going to help you identify what shifts you might want to make in your life, if any, to get to that, what they typically say, like higher version of yourself. And by that, we're really just talking about the version of yourself who is consistent with the habits that you want to build, consistent with your routine, you're consistent with growth in your business, you're consistent with growth in your occupation. Like all of these things come naturally, they come easily. It doesn't feel like you're pushing against something to make things happen. And I think when I notice that my mindset goes into a place of lack and I start doubting myself, doubting what I'm doing, doubting the structure of my business, doubting my programs. When I have that level of doubt, everything feels so hard to do. And I think when I'm able to get out of that mindset, which it happens, it's probably, maybe 1 week of the month where I feel stuck in this space. And then I know, the next week I'm not going to be here. But I would say it's pretty consistently been the last couple weeks where I am just feel like I'm just pushing against something and there's so much resistance and things are not just happening naturally. And when we get to a place where, not saying things are going to be easy or that it won't take any discipline on your part, but when we get to a place where things come to you, people message you, people reach out to you, you reach out to others, you are consistent in your habits, you're consistent in your morning routine, you notice at work that people are just connecting with you. Like that should feel, you can even kind of tell a difference in my voice. Like when I visualize that, it's like hopeful, exciting, easy. And then when I talk or I think about where I find myself in right now, it's like hard, frustrating. My patience is so thin, like I'm not having grace with people, or I am, when deep down I'm not, it's kind of one of those things of like, I don't know, getting hurt by someone and on the outside it's like, oh yeah, that's fine, awesome, I'm so happy for you, that's perfect. And then deep down you're like, ugh, like that just ticked me off and I can't get over it even though I know I need to. Like having, just I've just had things like that pop up recently, and I'm holding on to them and dwelling on them a lot more than I really need to. And it's just things I need to let go of. And so really this practice, again, it's just supposed to be helpful for you. And I'm going to take you along in real time with me doing this for myself. So I actually wrote out a list of questions, multiple questions that you could either, journal down, you could be writing things down, or just think about it, right? It's like that visualization practice, like I talked about. Maybe get outside, go for a walk, be in an environment that's quiet so you can really think and, just identify what it is that you want things to look like. And we're going to skip right over the catch up for today's episode because I want this to be something you can come back to often and utilize. So it's not going to be a long episode today. It's going to be pretty short, but it's one that I think you'll find yourself coming back to because, we lose direction, or maybe our vision of what we want things to look like changes, or something really traumatic happens and you need to get right back on track with what you want. And I just hope that this is a practice that you can come back to often. So go ahead and close your eyes or keep them open, right? If you're walking, but again, find yourself in a comfortable space. So if you're sitting down, maybe cross your legs, okay, straighten that back. And I want you to just take a couple deep breaths here with me. So we're going to breathe in through the nose, out through your mouth, in through your nose, and out through your mouth. 2 more just like that, in through the nose, feeling that belly expand, and exhale. Last one, in through your nose, holding that at the top for 3, 2, and exhale. All right. I love utilizing that deep breath because it really should make that brain feel like a blank slate. There shouldn't be a lot of noise up there. Things should feel very relaxed. You might notice my voice is getting quieter because I want you to feel at ease here. Again, eyes open, eyes closed, whatever you feel comfortable with. And I just want you to ask yourself, what does my day-to-day life look like right now? Okay, so ask yourself the questions, am I thriving right now or am I just surviving? Am I just trying to get by? Think about how you move your body. How do you enjoy moving your body? Maybe it's going for a walk. Maybe it's doing Pilates. Maybe it's strength training. Maybe it's just working outside in the garden or tending to your animals. How do you nourish your body? So how do you move your body, but how do you nourish your body? Are you nourishing your body with warm, comforting foods? Are you nourishing your body with colorful foods? Does your plate look colorful? Does it look beige? Do you eat out often, or have you found a way to enjoy cooking at home? Kind of thinking back to the beginning part of your day. So imagine you're just getting out of bed. Your feet hit the floor. You sit up out of bed. What does that next step look like for you? Are you running out the door are you rushing, I guess, to get dressed, to do your makeup, to wash your face, to brush your teeth, and then you find yourself grabbing something quick for breakfast and sprinting out the door as quickly as you can, maybe 10 minutes before you know you need to leave? Or are you getting up, your feet hit the floor, you're relaxed, you take a sip of water, you go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you wash your face, you do a nice light stretch, you do some lymphatic drainage, and then you make your way to the kitchen. You drink your water, you drink your greens, you make your breakfast, you sit down and eat it without your phone. Your phone is still on Do Not Disturb from the night before. Then you grab your devotional or your Bible, and you spend 10 minutes dedicating that time towards reading the Bible, reading the devotional, reflecting on that experience. Maybe that's what your morning routine looks like. Or maybe you're somewhere in the middle and that's still something you're practicing. But I really want you to think about, are you in fight or flight in this moment? Or are you calm? When we wake up in the morning, that cortisol should elevate very gradually, and then it'll slowly decrease throughout the day rather than having that cortisol spike, and then we find ourselves rushing the rest of the day and then unable to fall asleep at night. Lastly here, what emotions come up for you throughout the day? Are you anxious? Are you stressed? Are you happy? Are you comforted? Are you calm? What is that emotion for you? Now here, as you're thinking, I want you to think about what those thoughts throughout the day reflect for you. So do you find that most of the thoughts that pop into your head are negative, or are they positive? Do you feel like you have complete control of your life and what is happening to you and around you, or do you feel helpless? How do you feel throughout the day? Do you feel content? Do you feel bored? Do you feel overwhelmed? Lastly, think about how you talk to yourself. So what do you speak to your body when you look in the mirror? What do you speak to yourself when you make a plate of food? Or when you work out? What are the negative or positive thoughts that are swirling through your mind most frequently? Whatever that is, I want you to go ahead and write that down. Write down the negative thoughts that swirl through your brain most often. If you need more time to think, you can pause the episode and write some things down. Okay, but I want you just to focus on those negatives and have them somewhere where you can see them, because we're going to come back to that. All right, so then what limitations have you set for yourself already? This might be beliefs that you've set, or beliefs that you have seen other people around you have that have become normal for you. Maybe it's that being rich means you're cold. Making money means you're greedy. Eating more food means you'll get fat. Exercising will make you bulky. What are those beliefs that maybe you've never questioned, but you've noticed that when you reach a certain level of success, that you don't notice that stays for very long? For example, for me, when I think about making a lot of money, for me, that thought feels really uncomfortable, because in my opinion, if you make a lot of money really quickly or have a successful business, it means that you don't genuinely care about the people that you're working with or working for. And that's a thought that I've noticed comes up for me pretty often because of, and this is where I would invite you to reflect on it, because of I've worked with business coaches in the past who really, it felt like they took my money and ran and didn't give me that individualized attention that I so badly needed and wanted in that moment. So I noticed then how that reflects in my life is that when I work with someone, I give them absolutely everything that I possibly can, maybe even to the point where it feels slightly overwhelming, because I never want them to feel undervalued or underappreciated. Which, when we think about it, that's not a bad thing, right? I want the people around me to feel valued and appreciated and cared for, but to what extent of my own health and well-being? I notice when I overextend so much that my brain feels very, very heavy. There's a lot of feedback, there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of traumas and hurt that have come up for other people through working with me as their coach. And that is what I'm here to do. I'm here to help people through those things and to talk them through their relationship with food and help them create a better relationship with their body. But a lot of negative and really, really sad things come up. Maybe a lot of things that they've never shared with other people. And that's where I have to not overextend, even though it's somebody that in my eyes maybe needs more of my help. And so that limiting belief that I've said I've noticed has played out in my business then in a way where if I would have a month where I would make more money, significantly maybe more money than in previous months, I view that as a fleeting thing. I view that as impossible to be consistent with, impossible to have happen the next month, because if I would make a certain level of income, I would become greedy and self-centered. And I've noticed that the people around me that I know and love, that's not true for them, even if their income is higher than mine or higher than most people's. And so it's that negative belief that I've told myself over and over again that makes it really hard for me to value what I'm doing enough to charge people what I probably should be. And that is something that I really don't share often because people hate to talk about money. They hate to hear about money. I feel like for a lot of people, it's a really uncomfortable conversation. And it's uncomfortable for me to share, in all honesty, because that is so far from what my priority is within my business. But it's a factor, right? You work a job because you need money to live. And that's very much, the reality that I find myself in as well. And I think everybody does, especially if, maybe you're not working quite yet, but that's something that you'll be doing in the future, or you've had a part-time job. Like financially, you have to make money in order to live. So valuing yourself enough to value your service, to not overextend and overexert yourself towards people that maybe need a little bit more of your help or of your support. And that's something that, again, a limiting belief, but for you, it might be completely different. And again, take some time to think about it. Again, you can always pause this and really get deep about what those limiting beliefs or those things that you tell yourself constantly are. Okay, we're going to move into visualizing your ideal day. So you wake up in the morning, your feet hit the floor. What does the rest of the day look like for you? Now, I don't want you to think of a day when you would be able to rest, right? I talk about the importance of rest and recovery, but I want you to think of a typical day. So maybe reflecting on your typical day right now, what modifications would you love to see happen for you in the future? Really get specific about this again. So think about, what does it feel like? For me, it feels like warm morning sun on my skin. It's light outside, but it's still early enough to take my time in the morning and not rush through it. What does it smell like? To me, it smells like fresh baked sourdough bread. It smells like water and green grass. It smells like getting outside and whatever smells come with that. What does it look like then? To me, it looks like a warm, no wind, just calm day. Where are you? For me, it looks like doing my morning routine and then commuting to a space that I've created or I've curated to align with my business structure. Who's with you? For me, I know long term, I don't want to work by myself forever. I want to have a space, a wellness collective where different people can use their gifts and we can care for others in the same space, where having your own preventative health focused environment looks warm and inviting and comforting, and that there's a lot of collaboration and conversation happening. Okay? So then what is your ideal life? For me, this is one I've always struggled with because my ideal life doesn't look like living in a mansion and having luxury clothing and designer bags and fancy shoes and all of this money to spend on various things. And so I was talking to my husband about how it's so hard to visualize what I want my life to look like, because I don't want it to look like most people probably who start a business. And that's a very generalized statement. And that's not true for everyone. But I think when you think of a business owner, or you think of a really successful business, what does that visualization of the person look like for you? For me, that's kind of the vision that comes to mind, but that's so far from what I want for myself. So it's really hard to visualize what that looks like. And this is something that it's going to take a lot of time for me to do. And it might take a lot of time for you to do, because your life is ever changing. You could visualize something, and a year down the road, you go back and read that and you're like, that is so far from what I wanted things to look like now. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it, is that things are always changing. They're always evolving. What you write down now doesn't have to be what you do forever, but it is fun to come back to and read what your ideal life looked like to you a year ago. I know for me, a lot of it actually really aligns. A little bit over a year ago, and I kind of do this at the beginning of the year, is I write a letter to my future self. So I write a letter to myself on December 29 and of that year. And I write down all the things that have happened for me that year, all the opportunities that have come my way, all of the growth that I've seen personally. And writing that letter to your future self is really fun, because sometimes you see an alignment of what you wanted and what happened. So like us living on a farm, us having ducks and chickens, and me having a garden and baking sourdough and selling sourdough, and having the clients that I do. If I think back to a year ago, I had 2 clients ever, 2 one-on-one clients ever. And now I've worked with over 25 women one-on-one in the last, that would have been about an 8-month process. So 2 clients to then working with 25 clients, it's a huge shift, right? That's a huge jump, a huge shift in what my life looks like. I wanted to have exercise classes that I led, and now I'm doing that. And I have women that show up. And it's just really amazing when you think about what you would have dreamt of when that actually starts to happen for you. And I think that only starts to happen for you when you actually write things down and get very specific about it. And that's something I'll admit I'm not very good at doing all the time. But again, when you're in this mindset that maybe things feel really difficult and it feels really hard to make anything happen, coming back to that ideal life or that ideal year for you, and getting specific about what it looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like, where are you, who are you with, getting to the nitty-gritty of what that experience is. All right, a few more here. So with thinking about this ideal life, how can you add a micro habit into your daily routine to help with the progression of this ultimate goal? So peeling everything back, you've got you and you've got that ideal goal, the thing that you're working every single day for. What is that? And then if you can trace it back 100, 50, maybe 20 steps, what does that daily activity look like? Okay, what needs to happen for that to happen? So I think about, for me, with having a space like that, right? There's a certain level of education that I hope to have when that time comes. So for me, it looks like reaching out to the school that I want to start taking classes for and taking the initial placement exam to get into the program. It looks like starting my education to become a naturopath, a doctor, and seeing where that goes. And again, I'm not saying that's for sure happening. I'm not saying that is what I've set my mind to, but I know it is an opportunity that would allow me to have a space for people to gather, and I would be able to help more specifically with preventative care practices and modalities in person, in real life. And that is something that I've wanted for a while, but it's also it's looked in various different forms. For my whole senior year of college, really, I wanted to have a coffee shop and a wellness kind of space that then I led exercise classes and had a coffee bar and healthy food options. And that was what life looked like. And that is what I visualized life looking like. And I'm not at that point, right? It's now taken a shift. And I think that shift is okay. If you didn't ever allow yourself to change, I think you'd find yourself working towards something that was actually not what you really wanted. Okay? All right. So then who can help you get there? Maybe that is a certification. So somebody that works at a school, maybe that's a spouse, maybe that's a friend, maybe that's a colleague. Maybe it's somebody that you need to network with that you're still waiting to find that can help you grow to the next level of what it is you're wanting, right? What needs to give in order for this to happen? I think when I ask myself that question, it becomes a lot easier for me to say no to different opportunities. I had something pop up yesterday and got asked a question, and it was a pretty immediate no. And to me, that felt really uncomfortable. It felt uncomfortable to be brutally honest about what I wanted. But I know that in order to accomplish what I want, things have to give, and I can't have my brain in 600 places at one time, because you find yourself spinning your wheels, but you're getting absolutely nowhere. And it's hard not to then second guess that, no, sometimes. But when you think about that ideal life or that ideal year or that ideal goal of yours, what do you need to say no to in order to get to that place? And to wrap this up, I want you to write down any limiting or negative thoughts that you're having right now about this. And I'm going to give you some time to do that. You can go ahead and pause the episode if you need a little bit more time. But with those negative thoughts, I want you to just take a look at them. And with each one that you wrote down, I want you to flip it to be a positive. So for example, I would look at a limiting thought and I would say, I'm going to be in this mindset forever and my business will never grow. How can I flip that to be a positive? So I could say, daily, I am doing practices to improve my mindset so that my business can flourish and I can care for as many people as possible. And that would be what I would recite to myself. So that negative, flip to a positive. I always say, you probably will not believe that in the moment. You might not believe that for a long time. But what I want you to do is to continue coming back to it, continuing to repeat that to yourself. Because when you tell yourself that and you repeat that narrative, that positive narrative to yourself, you start to believe it. You identify that limiting belief that you had and you make it something that you no longer believe. You kind of debunk it in a sense. And just finding that consistency with repeating that back to yourself. All right, so we're going to close this with just a couple more deep breaths. So I really want you to notice that belly fully expand. So let's go ahead and breathe in through our nose. Out through your mouth. Last one, in through your nose. And out through your mouth. How are you feeling? Check in with yourself. How are you feeling right now? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling inspired? Are you feeling encouraged? Hopefully this practice has been helpful for you, and it's one that you find yourself coming back to often when you need it. With that, we're going to go ahead and close today's episode in prayer. So dear Lord, just thank you for today. Thank you for the opportunity to connect and dive deeper into what it is that we want, what we want our life to look like. Dive deeper into how you can help us get there and how growing that connection with you will only improve what that vision is for us. Lord, I ask that you'd be with MF and her family and that they find peace in this time with whatever it is that they're struggling with or going through right now. I also pray that you'd be with BK and that she's able to gain the weight that she needs to stay out of the facility, and that her relationship with food is just thriving, that she develops just a deeper appreciation for her body and the body that you've given her and all that it can do for her. Lord, I just thank you again for this podcast, and I ask that whoever's listening is leaving this episode feeling calm. They're feeling at ease. They're feeling like there's light at the end of the tunnel. They're feeling hopeful for the future, and that they just rest assured knowing that you're there with them every step of the way. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. All right, so thank you again so much for listening to today's episode. If you'd like to follow along with my life outside of the podcast, you can find me at Nourish with Bailey on Instagram or Bailey Seaton on Facebook. If you have any questions for me or you'd like to get some one-on-one support with nutrition, lifestyle, stress, all the things, you can always message me on either of those platforms and we can get the conversation going so you can feel that true full body healing that I think we're all probably deeply desiring. So with that, I will talk to you again next Wednesday. Bye.